Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Elise and this is 10 to Life. And we are a true crime channel. I'm not going to give you the full breakdown because I'm sure you guys have already heard it before, but if you are a new viewer of the channel and you like true crime and you like what I have to say in today's video and you feel like this channel is a good one for you, don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and also turn your notifications to on so that you get notified when I post new videos and new case updates. And for all of you returning subscribers, welcome back. So happy to have you here today. And let's get right into it. The case we're talking about today is one that has recently surfaced in the news. Quite a few people are talking about it, not as many as I would normally think would be talking about it, but it truly is a WTF case, like a holy crap, how is this happening? How did this happen? Where's the justice and where's the accountability? It's also one that will make you a little bit sick and twisty inside. It also, unfortunately, last thing I know, I keep saying it also is something that is indicative of a much larger problem in this country, and you're going to understand what I'm saying as we get into it. So without further ado, guys, let's just jump right in.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
Midland Christian School is in Midland, Texas, and this school is, of course, a religious school, but it's also an expensive school. It costs $13,000 a year in tuition, and their mission statement on their website reads, "We are motivated in all facets by our faith in Jesus Christ, attempting to serve as a reflection of God's unconditional love for all people. We seek to honor the Lord in all that we do by operating Midland Christian School in a manner consistent with biblical principles. It is important to us that every word and deed engaged in by Midland Christian School, its employees, representatives, volunteers, and students be consistent with and in furtherance of Midland Christian School's religious purposes, both publicly and privately." And it also should be noted that in addition to this fluffy, beautiful sentiment on their mission statement, that on their website, their very first image on their landing page is sports related. And that's going to become more important as we talk about this case today. Last week, a superintendent, a school principal, a vice principal, a baseball coach, and an athletic director were arrested from Midland High School. And they were arrested for failing to report an essay that took place on campus with a 9th grade boy. So what led up to these arrests? And why wasn't this reported? And why did these 5 people now get arrested and charged for failing to report this when they're the adults who are supposed to be taking care of the young students and the children when they are obviously on campus and attending school and playing sports? So let's go back to the beginning. On January 20th, a 9th grade boy had confided in his school principal that he had been essayed in the locker room after baseball practice. He said that when he entered the locker room, the lights were completely turned off and that he was immediately pushed to the ground. He stated that someone then in that darkened room told him that it was freshman initiation day. He then goes on to say that a sophomore, somebody older than him, continued to hit him with a baseball bat and then used the back of that bat to essay him. Meanwhile, everybody else in that locker room was apparently screaming and cheering. He says that he tried to fight back when he was pushed to the ground, but that this older 10th grader told him that he wasn't allowed to hit back. The older student then flipped this 9th grader onto his back, pinned his hands underneath his knee, and then essayed him with the handle of that baseball bat. This all happening while the other students looked on and cheered. Truly horrifying and absolutely heartbreaking. It honestly makes me ill. So the principal takes down this horrific and graphic report from this 9th grade student of hers, and you would think that she would immediately call the police and inform them and start an investigation. But she doesn't. In fact, she waits 24 hours to contact anybody, and the person that she contacts 24 hours later is not the police. It's the superintendent. She tells the superintendent about the incident that took place and all of the details that she received. The superintendent then prompts the vice principal and the athletic director to investigate. Okay, why are you guys all investigating? Why don't you let the police come and investigate? Why are the teachers and the coaches investigating? It's time to turn this over to the proper authorities. At this point, it had already been over 24 hours since the initial outcry. And at this point, no SANE exam had been performed, no forensic interviews had taken place with not only the victim, but also any eyewitnesses. So every moment that passed, you were losing not only evidence, but you were also losing recollection from anybody who was there to witness it. Really just watering down everything that had happened and losing everything. 7 days later, yes, 7 days later, 1 week later, the Midland Police Department received a call and they were notified of this incident. But it wasn't clear who had informed them exactly, but it was confirmed that it was none of those 5 adults who did know about the incident. It wasn't any of the administrators or any of the coaches. So could it have been the victim or his family, or could it have been an eyewitness who was now feeling a little guilty? In any event, the police were notified, but it was a week after the incident took place. After the department was alerted, an officer immediately went out to Midland Christian School. And this officer spoke with the principal. And the principal and the superintendent both informed the officers that they were aware of this essay incident taking place. So at that point, after verifying that this incident was real, detective called the victim's mom and arranged for a forensic interview to take place. 8 days after this happened, investigators met with the 9th grade boy and the forensic took place. He confirmed more details about what happened that day on January 20th and confirmed that he was attacked by a fellow baseball player. Following that interview and knowing who this baseball player was, the police officers went back to Midland Christian School. At that time, the detective requested that an unnamed student be brought in for questioning. The student arrived to the office for questioning and was then transported by police to the police station. The police department later confirmed that that student had been arrested in connection with that incident. Now, during this encounter, Superintendent Lee was out of the office, but the detective did speak with the principal. And this was when she confirmed that they did know of this alleged essay taking place. And she told the detective that the school had launched its own investigation, that they were taking it very seriously, and that that's why they hadn't reached out to police yet, because they were doing their own internal investigation. However, she also then tells the detective that she was unable to provide any documentation for that investigation. So the detective tells her, "You have until February 14th to give me these documents and to provide it to me." So a couple of days later, on February 14th, Superintendent Lee, who was out that day, calls the detective. And he tells him that the school would not be providing any sort of documentation pertaining to their internal investigation. Clearly trying to stonewall the police and act as if they have something to hide. Why wouldn't you be assisting in the investigation? Why wouldn't you be forthcoming with any information that you had received? Unless you have something to hide. At that point, the detective applied for a search warrant, which was granted immediately, literally the same day. So during that search in the school, investigators did find documents to that investigation, but they were documents that were created on the 11th and the 12th of February, just a couple of days earlier, not when the initial outcry and report should have taken place and was said to have taken place back on January 20th. These documents were only created after the detective arrived at the school asking for documentation. So obviously that's why the principal didn't supply him with any documents, because at that point in time, there were 0 documents. In separate interviews, the vice principal and the athletic director told detectives that they had interviewed students, but that they didn't interview them until 3 weeks after the incident. And that when they did interview these students, the students said that they couldn't remember anything. Hello, obviously that gave 3 weeks for these kids, this group of kids, to either get their story straight, for the assailant to threaten these kids, for a million different things to happen. You waited 3 weeks to question any of them. Of course, things are going to change. And of course, you're not going to get true testimony from anybody. During the search, investigators also found multiple emails that had gone back and forth, not only between those 5 adults, the administrators and coaches who were looped into what the situation was, but also another unnamed adult. And this unnamed adult in those emails told these 5 people that if they didn't go to the police to report it, he would. So was this who ended up making that report on January 28th? And these administrators and teachers are required by Texas law to report any sort of incident like this to the authorities. But instead of reporting it, they continually tried to conceal it. even conducting their own investigation that really never even took place. They concealed it every step of the way. On February 16th, around 11 a.m., several police vehicles arrived at Midland Christian School. A short time later, 5 adults were taken out front in handcuffs from the school. Superintendent Jared Lee, Secondary Principal Dana Ellis, Secondary Vice Principal Matthew Counts, Athletic Director Gregory McClendon, and Head Baseball Coach Barry Russell had all been arrested and charged with 1 count of failure to report with intent to conceal. Around 2 p.m. that afternoon, the police department confirmed their arrests and also confirmed that a student had been arrested in connection with the investigation. Following these arrests, several former students, parents of students, and former teachers spoke out, and they said that they believed that the school had a history of sweeping things under the rug. Former student and athlete Mason Riggs says, "I went to Midland Christian High School from 2013 to 2015. I played football under Coach Mack, and this story is no surprise to me and many others. The admin and coaches tolerated and covered up a highly sexualized and emotionally abusive culture. If you were a valuable athlete, you were a god. You got paid, you lacked for nothing, and you got away with everything. 0 real consequences. Theft, RAPE, SA, drugs, alcohol were all part of being in MCS sports. Just put my name in the pile of other alums who have now spoken out." And that's pretty telling, because not only is somebody going on record with their own experience and saying that the school has a history of this, but it didn't take long for somebody to come out on record. So my opinion with that is that this was a very common thing, and that nobody was really scared to speak up about it because it happened so regularly and it was so normal. Around 3 p.m. that afternoon, Midland Christian School released its own statement. And in that statement, they confirmed the arrests. And they also said, "The 5 administrators were notified of an alleged hazing incident involving some of our students' athletes that resulted in school disciplinary action. Subsequently, school leadership was contacted by MPD regarding the alleged incident. Our school officials have and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement and their investigation. Currently, we have qualified acting administrators to supervise the campus, oversee student activities, support faculty, and maintain the day-to-day operation of the school." Later that same day, the 5 administrators and coaches that had been arrested were released from the police department on $5,000 bail. So first of all, in that statement, your administrators and your faculty are not cooperating. Not only were they obstructing, but they were trying to purposefully stonewall the police department and law enforcement every step of the way. So that is not at all accurate or true. Second, how on earth is a $5,000 bail amount at all enough? That means that each one of these adults had to pay out of pocket just $500 to get released from jail. $500 and $5,000 in total for not protecting a young child who outcried to them about being hurt while in their protection and under their supervision. Now imagine the terror of this poor kid going days, going a full week with it not being reported to police at all, going a full week with him going back to the school, showing up to school, wondering if this person was going to attack him again, wondering if somebody else was going to attack him, wondering why nobody was protecting him, why nobody was stepping in. I can't even imagine the level of fear that would be for somebody at that age, just going to school scared of everyone, because everybody was even cheering this person on, scared of everyone, scared of it happening again, not to mention the bullying and the ridicule that he probably endured as well. Something that, in my opinion, deserves much more than $500 to get out of jail. Now let's go back to that statement that the school made, because I want to read for you the full statement, just to really level set you here. And the statement says, "Our school officials have and will continue to cooperate with law enforcement and their investigation. Currently, we have qualified acting administrators to supervise the campus, oversee student activities, support faculty, and maintain the day-to-day operations of the school. The physical, spiritual, and emotional safety of our student is the most important responsibility we bear as educators, and the one we take seriously. We appreciate the support and prayers of our Midland Christian parents, faculty, staff, and students as we continue leading, building, and equipping for Christ." He also adds that under legal advice from counsel, that this will be their only statement on the matter at this time. And these accusations against the administrators are eerily similar to similar ones that were made in a 2020 civil suit against a public school in that same area of Midland. And in that case, administrators were accused of repeatedly covering up SA attacks that took place between an athlete and the teammate. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And in that instance, in addition to just sweeping the accusations under the rug like they reportedly so often do, the school actually ended up retaliating against this student by discontinuing their long-standing business relationship with the victim's father. Now, this just infuriates me. Like I said at the top of this video, it is a true WTF situation. How are these 5 adults getting off with not only, in my opinion, what looks to be a slap on the wrist? Where is the justice for this young boy? Because he was failed by 5 adults who, again, were supposed to be protecting him. Now, I want to just circle back. Remember in the very beginning of this video when I said on their website, their #1 image on their landing page wasn't school books, it wasn't their library, it wasn't anything academic related, it was sports. Now, a picture speaks 1,000 words, am I right? Now, if their main landing image is sports, I think it is very safe to assume that athletics are extremely important and valuable to this school. Perhaps important and valuable enough to put that ahead of everything else, ahead of academics, ahead of school safety, ahead of students' safety. Would this situation have been handled the same, not only at a different school, perhaps, but also if it had nothing to do with their athletic program? I can't help but wonder, especially when you see the similarities between the case that took place in 2020 as well. When is enough enough? So often we hear about this kind of BS happening at school campuses, high school campuses, college campuses, all over the place. So if the students aren't going to be better, and if the students are going to continue to do these heinous acts and just be complete animals, where are the adults in all of this? Why aren't the adults becoming better? Why aren't they holding these kids, these children, accountable for their actions? Why aren't they protecting the very students who are not only in their care and who trust them, but also whose parents are paying $13,000 and upwards a year for their tuition to make sure that they receive a good education, a good environment, a safe environment, yet they are failing them every step along the way? How do we get better with this? How do we improve that system? And how do we make that stop? If the adults aren't going to step in and do the right thing, how on earth can we expect the kids to step in and do the right thing? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in with me on today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the coverage. Don't forget, leave your comments below, give this video a thumbs up on your way out, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, and until the next case, stay safe. Bye.